Hey there, thanks for joining. This is 843 Direct and my name is JR. So today I just wanted to talk about my day one with my Onefinity CNC. So just like I mentioned in my review, it was super simple to set up, and frankly I had months to prepare while I waited for my order to arrive. And the surprising thing was that on day one I got it assembled and stood in front of it and said, okay gosh, what do I do next? And that meant from what projects would I do, what things would I do to, as an example, what spoil board would I use, which system, which setup, all those things. And I almost stood in front of it a little overloaded with the different choices that I had to get started. So I just wanted to explain a couple of things that I found along the way and see if it doesn't help you possibly. Something to consider either as you wait for your order to arrive, or maybe today is day one and you're just curious, what should I do first? So let's get into it. Thanks for coming. I appreciate your time. So I'm gonna flash a little picture-in-picture down here somewhere of when you first power your machine on, and I'm gonna assume that you have updated the firmware to the latest version, whatever it is, of the day that you're watching this video. I think it's 1.08 at the time that I'm recording this. So you're going to see this screen down here where it's going to prompt you to home the machine. So I had a loose understanding of what that meant, but I thought I would just explain it to you the way that I understood it and have continued to understand it. There are some people who don't bother homing the machine. I don't happen to want to do it that way. It's fine if that's the way you choose to do it, but I always want the machine to know. So right behind me here, you can see that this is where the Z-axis and my router is. At the bottom of that is where the bit would be. So I always want the machine to know where that head is in space. So left to right, front to back, and up and down. If you do not do that, the machine doesn't know when it has achieved its full travel in one direction or another. And so if you find yourself moving the machine all the way, I'm going to use to the left as an example. This machine is not currently homed. So, and let me just turn this recorder on here. Okay, so if you were to move the machine left, right, up, down, or forward or back, and the machine was not homed, it doesn't know when to stop. It does not have limit switches that close a contact when a physical stop is achieved. This particular machine uses soft limits, so it just simply measures the motor current as it travels, and when it meets a lot of resistance, meaning that it has hit a physical stop, it knows that that's the end and it will stop. But you have to initiate the machine with what's called a homing process. And so if you fail to do that, what could happen, and this machine is not currently homed, I'm going to move the machine all the way to the left. It won't know where to stop, so it's just going to keep trying to drive in that particular direction for as long as I command it. So here we go. I'm going to let you listen to the motor as it does its thing. I'm going to move this microphone a little bit closer. I'm going to do that one more time. So I've seen other cases where people have done the same thing, and it can be a different noise than that. It can be a grinding, a chattering noise as it continues to try to shove itself in that direction. So to address the time-saving portion, what I will tell you is that the homing process, because it's looking for differences in the stall current of a motor when it achieves a physical stop, if you were to have the machine positioned all the way to the back and the right, it's going to take a long time for the machine to move the Z-axis up, move the X-axis over, and then travel all the way over here. So one tip that I have subscribed to is I'm going to move the machine close to the front and left. And now for it to find its uppermost, leftmost, and forwardmost positions to home itself, it doesn't have quite as far to travel. So what I'm going to do is reach up to my touch screen. I'm going to hit the home machine OK button, and you're going to see it do a little travel routine where it's going to find the up, left, and forward position. So bear with me 1 second. Okay. So now what we're going to notice, and I'm going to zoom up to, so what you're going to notice is that this area here, this column, which says state, that is the machine state. So in the rows you have X, Y, and Z. So as of right now, if we compared it to earlier, it did not have a green indication in these 3 boxes, meaning that the machine's controller did not know where it was in space. So now that you have all 3 greens here, what I'm going to do is the same thing that I did before, just to show you what happens when the machine is in fact homed and you reach some physical stops. Okay, so we're now going to manipulate the machine, and this is at the highest travel speed possible. I'm going to move the machine all the way over to this left and not let off the button. I'm going to let it show you that it gets to that physical stop where it has determined it's a soft limit, and it will turn off the current to the motor and as a result not cause damage. See how it doesn't slam into it there? I'm now going to go forward. And before it crashes into the physical stops, the machine now knows where it is in space. You could see up in this area here, the Y, the X and the Y, excuse me, let me move over. Now the X and the Y, which is left to right is the X, Y is the front to back. It now is sitting at the 0 position. Okay, so now we have the machine homed, and what we're going to do next, we're going to jog the machine over, and we're going to now 0 to a workpiece. So let me move the camera here so it's better able to pick up what we're doing. I'm going to move the machine. Okay, so now I'm going to take the Onefinity touch probe, put it on the workpiece in such a fashion that the side pieces are going to line up with my horizontal and vertical corner here. I'm going to move the machine somewhat close because what you need to do is align the bit with the circle. We're going to get it somewhat close. Okay, so now we're going to come up to our touch screen, and what we can see is that the state here, this refers to the machine, and it is in fact homed, but then with regards to the tool path or the workpiece, there are several pieces that need to be calibrated here, and that's what this is going to solve right now. So what we would do is we would come over to the touch screen and hit probe XYZ, and what it wants you to do is just simply touch the touch probe to your bit and make sure that there is a connection there that it's going to recognize. Once we do, we say continue, and then it's going to ask you for what size bit you're using so that it knows how to calibrate itself. We're going to say set, and then we're going to see the Z carriage move down, then the X carriage, then the Y carriage. And by way of doing that, the machine is now going to know where the workpiece is in relation to the machine cutting space. And when that happens, all of these toolpath columns are going to also be green, and that's how you know that your machine is calibrated. Okay, so now it gives you the message to not forget to take away the probe, which we will do. And now what you're going to notice is that not only is the machine column homed, but the tool path is now calibrated to the workpiece here. Okay, so now we're just going to make a test cut, and I'm using Vectric Pro. So we will just highlight a simple text here, come over to our tool path. We're going to select a pocketing tool path. We're going to cut it at 1/4 of an inch deep. Look at our tool. Good. Test it out. Looks fine. So I'm going to show you that we can send this file to the controller in a couple of different ways. My Onefinity controller is connected to my Wi-Fi. So we're going to come over here, save this tool path. Test Onefinity. Close. I'm going to come down here on the web interface, search for my folder. There it is. Now you're going to see that the name of the file is in fact here. Now the other way that you can save this file is by using a thumb drive. So come back to Vectric, save that tool path, and instead of saving it in my normal directory, I can pop this bad boy in, come to my USB drive, same pocket, save it in the drive. Then if I were to bring this over to the machine, I could plug this into the Onefinity controller and it would read it right from here. Same method. I happen to prefer using the Wi-Fi since I have it available to me. Alright, well unfortunately I had a little camera malfunction in that I forgot to turn it on when I was loading the file and getting you prepped at the computer screen of the Onefinity controller, but nonetheless, here is the machine cutting that test piece. Okay, so I hope that you found that there was some valuable information, or maybe, if nothing else, just demystified, you know, what's going to happen on day one, or what's going to happen the first time you wake your machine up out of the box, and the things that you have to do. The one thing that I just didn't feel like I could cram into this was addressing setting up the spoil board and flattening it. There are a number of videos out there. Some folks have spent some time discussing that already, so I didn't feel like that it was going to help a whole lot to redo that content. But if you're interested in seeing how I did mine, or if you had any specific questions about anything that you saw in this video, please drop a comment down below. I'll be happy to answer that. And also, if you have any suggestions for future videos, what you might like to see, something that you're interested in knowing as you're waiting for your machine, or maybe you have your machine and you just haven't even turned it on yet because you're concerned about how do I start, where do I go from here. Do me a favor, just hit the subscribe button down below, and as those future videos become available, you'll see them. And I appreciate you spending the time today. Thanks very much. Have a great day.